Today's video is on the fifth play from Meyer's High Guard. As always, I will give you the translation and then my mental shorthand and how I practice it as a solo drill. So starting with the translation, he says, in the onset, when you come into the day or high guard, then let your blade drop before you as before toward your left side and pull it around your head. Step and deliver a horizontal middle cut with the long edge against his left at his neck or temple. As soon as it connects, then pull back around your head. And secondly, deliver another middle cut from your left against his right, and also at his neck. As soon as it clashes, then thirdly, cut a high stroke with the long edge straight from above, and these three cuts must happen quickly in a single motion, one after another. Then, if you should have more space to work, raise your pommel up towards your left, pull around your head, and take out his blade with the flat or short edge by your left from below through his right, towards your right by slashing upward so that your blade flies back around in the air and cut with the short edge down from above with crossed hands by his right ear without hitting, though if you can reach him with the short edge in running past, then let it hit. Then deliver a strong wrath cut at his left side and then cut away from him. This is indeed quite a serious and strong device that no one will be able to ward off once you have the before. So the nice thing is that this is generally motions we have seen before. What makes this play interesting is that it's very psychological, and that Meyer is advising us to use a lot of pressure with these big attacks. So he says we're going to pull up into the high guard and we're going to let the sword fall before. So if you remember from last week's play, we essentially feinted the thrust by crossing the right hand over the left. We're going to do the same thing, the same motion, but we're essentially going to use this to power a big dramatic cut. So we're using this to really sell that we're coming with a big heavy attack. So we're going to cross over to cut from the right, cut from the left, and then we're going to cut straight down. And he says these have to happen one after the other, bam, bam, bam. So we're trying to seize the initiative and keep it by not giving our opponent any time to counter by throwing multiple blows really quickly. From here, we're going to pull the pommel back towards our left, and we're going to cut with our back edge or our outside flat under. So the idea is that we have forced our opponent into these kind of oh shit parries, and we've thrown this high cut, and so they've just kind of shoved their sword up to parry, and they're stuck there. So now we're going to pull up, we're going to cut slightly from below, knocking the sword back to this crossed arm false edge we've seen before, a wrath cut to the right, and then we cut away, so we're going to leave with the thwart. So my mental shorthand is pull up to the high guard, fall before, right, left, down, slap there, cut away, right back into the cross arm false edge, wrath cut, and leave. So it's mostly motions we have done before, but again, it's really this kind of psychological piece of we're trying to create a big dramatic threat that forces our opponent on the defensive and keeps them there. So that's why it's so important that we do these attacks. So when I'm focusing on the Pel, there's really a couple ways you can do it. You can start way out of range and just do the roll, cut in the air and just come down with the last one. The other thing you could do is use little kind of triangle steps, little offline steps, so we can roll under 1, 2, 3. Either way, we've thrown this high cut, so we're going to pull the pommel back towards our left to give us some room, and then we're going to cut with either the outside flat or the false edge. I tend to prefer the false edge from underneath right into that false edge cut, wrath cut, and then so again, get from this high guard, fall in front, 1, 2, 3. And that is the whole fifth play. So it's not really a feinting thrust like we saw in the previous play. It's not that we're acting like we're going to do a thrust. It's more that we're going to kind of do a dramatic Molinet. We really want the opponent to feel like they need to backpedal and defend. So we really need to sell this motion as big, powerful cut. Nice and rapidly. And then from here, again, we pull the pommel, slap their sword out of the way for the false edge cut, wrath cut, and we can cut away kind of however we want, but I generally find that the thwart to either side is the way to go. So try that out. Next week we will see Meyer's counter to the high guard, and then we'll get into the plays from the Zornhut, the Wrath Guard, rather than the overhead high guard.